Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Now, last year, I talked about the possibility of revisiting the movie Mac and Me, since the last time I made a video on that movie was over 10 years ago. And since my last video, where I tried to come up with an argument as to why the humanoid is better than Star Wars, was so much fun, I'm gonna do it again. Now, if you're not aware, Mac and Me was a movie that came out in 1988, which was widely criticized for its excessive product placement, as well as being a blatant ripoff of E.T. But is it really? Yes, it totally is. But I'm going to try and do the impossible yet again. I'm going to try and come up with an argument as to why Mac and Me is better than E.T. Steven Spielberg's E.T. is often praised for its heartwarming story of friendship between a boy and a stranded alien. But Mac and Me takes storytelling and emotional manipulation to a whole new level. And I'm going to tell you why. So strap in for a wild ride as I present an airtight argument that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about good taste in movies. Mac and Me starts on the aliens' home planet, where they suck liquid out of the ground for sustenance. In E.T., we don't even get to see E.T.'s home planet. The only way to see that is to go on the E.T. ride at Universal Studios. So unless you're planning to go all the way to Florida, you're out of luck. But I would recommend the ride though. I've been on it like 4 times since I was a kid, and it's just great. Anyways, a NASA probe sucks up the whole alien family with some kind of vacuum and brings them back to Earth. And that's when we get this crazy scene. Anyways, the aliens all run away, and the smallest one sneaks into the minivan of the Cruz family on the way to their new home. And so begins the hilarious hijinks as Mac uses his alien powers to, cause a bunch of shit. So at one point, Eric, the main character in this incredible story, follows a trail of footprints and destruction, and then his brother shows up like, Mom is gonna freak out when she sees all of this. And Eric is like, dude, there's a trail of footprints. I didn't do this. For God's sakes, look at me. I'm physically unable to. I'm in a wheelchair. And things get even better when Mac gets a hold of the power tools. I mean, did E.T. ever almost accidentally drill through Elliot's skull? No. This is much more interesting. Basically, the rest of the movie is Eric trying to reunite Mac with his family while keeping him out of the hands of the FBI. There's chases, explosions, and a lot of dancing. This is a movie that wasn't afraid to take risks. And it's about time it got the recognition it deserves. Let's go ahead and talk about the product placement, because this is just one of the many areas where Mac and Me makes E.T. look like an absolute slacker. We all remember how E.T. featured Reese's Pieces candy, a relatively subtle bit of product placement that actually boosted sales for Hershey's. Mac and Me saw that and said, that's nice, but step aside and watch a masterclass in corporate synergy. This film is notorious, unfairly of course, for basically being a feature-length commercial. And I mean that as the highest compliment. Why hide the sponsors in the background when you can make them the stars of the show? In Mac and Me, branding isn't just present, it's pretty much plot critical. At one point, the entire movie essentially stops for a 5-minute McDonald's dance party. The Golden Arches get more screen time than some of the human actors. If there's one category where E.T. really falls flat on its face, it's the lack of gratuitous dance sequences in fast food restaurants. Honestly, how can anyone consider E.T. to be superior when it features 0 scenes of aliens and humans dancing together at McDonald's? This scene has everything. 80s aerobic style dance moves and a soundtrack that slaps so hard it even has Ronald McDonald himself clapping along. It's as if the movie pauses to give us a mini flash dance, but with burgers. Is there any plot reason for this extravaganza? No, not really, but the sheer absurdity of it elevates the film into legendary status. Now compare this to E.T. Did we even get a single jazz hand from that alien? No. Did Elliot and his friends ever break out into a choreographed dance routine to celebrate finding a new life form? No! The most dancing that we get in E.T. is E.T. drunkenly waddling around the kitchen after he gets into the beer. Not exactly Broadway material. Speaking of which, when E.T. gets drunk off beer from the fridge, which in turn gets Elliot drunk at the same time, what kind of message does that send? Coca-Cola is literally life in Mac and Me. The aliens drink Coca-Cola as their sustenance. At one point, our heroes find Mac's family dying of dehydration, and the solution is to feed them Coca-Cola, which immediately revives the aliens like some kind of divine nectar. The message is clear. Coca-Cola saves lives. This movie basically says, the power of Coca-Cola transcends galaxies. Now, that's an endorsement. One of the biggest criticisms of Mac and Me is that it often looks and feels like a feature-length commercial. To which I say, yes. That's the genius of it. This film understood that the true path to a viewer's heart is through their wallet. E.T. may have had more lofty artistic ambitions, but it failed to fully monetize its potential. I mean, where was the E.T. dance number at a Pizza Hut? Or where was Elliot with a refreshing Pepsi to rejuvenate E.T. when he was sick? Just missed opportunities everywhere. By contrast, Mac and Me was so committed to its sponsors that many people legitimately thought McDonald's funded the entire film, which it did not. The movie received funding from Golden State Foods, who, provided food to McDonald's. And even though McDonald's was their only client, that is not the same thing. Mac and Me is capitalist brilliance personified. A $13 million movie that feels like a 99-minute Super Bowl commercial, seamlessly blending plot and product. E.T. may have made you cry. I mean, I cried. But did it make you crave a Big Mac and a Coke? Yeah, not really. Also, this scene features a young Jennifer Aniston as an extra in her film debut. So you could say that Mac and Me introduced Jennifer Aniston to the world. If it wasn't for this movie, who knows what would have happened with her career? It might not have happened at all. And then we wouldn't have Leprechaun, now would we? Well, we probably would. It would just be a version without Jennifer Aniston. I mean, who wants that? Now, does E.T. feature some incredibly iconic scenes? Yes, but Mac and Me features a scene so iconic that Paul Rudd shows it every time he's on Conan, no matter what movie he's supposed to promote. You could argue that the most iconic moment in E.T. is Elliot flying his bike through the sky with E.T. I mean, everybody knows this image. It went on to become the logo for Amblin Entertainment. But Mac and Me just goes the extra mile to give us something even more memorable. Instead of a kid on a bike flying through the air, we get a kid in a wheelchair flying off a cliff. In what I can only describe as a hilariously unfortunate series of events, Eric is launched into a lake after he starts rolling uncontrollably down a hill, and well, obviously somebody cheaped out when it came to the brakes on this thing, but it's okay because Mac is there to save him, but nobody saw Mac except Eric. So Mac and Me provided the ultimate comedy clip, one so out of context bizarre that it transcends the film itself. Think about it. E.T. doesn't have a singular scene that comedians can just whip out to get an instant laugh. And let's take a look at these aliens head to head, shall we? E.T. is a timid, earth-toned creature with big, soulful eyes who basically resembles a shriveled yam. He shuffles around like a 90-year-old grandpa and can't even handle a simple earth flu without keeling over. Mac, on the other hand, is truly remarkable. Mac, which stands for Mysterious Alien Creature, can do it all. He can don a teddy bear disguise and still break dance on a tabletop. Meanwhile, E.T. can barely walk straight in his ghost costume. And talk about durability. Mac survives being vacuumed up multiple times. He can also swim, kinda, and is very proficient when it comes to home remodeling and interior decorating. I mean, it might not be your kind of style, but it's something.
Michael, Eric, what have you done? Everything's ruined. It's totally ruined.
It wasn't me, Mom. It's the little creature. I saw it.
The house is totally destroyed.
Well, calm down, Mom.
Calm down? Calm down? How am I supposed to calm down? We moved in yesterday, and I told him to put all of these plants in the backyard. It's like he's never even gardened before. And all of the complaining, oh my God, I don't want to move. What if I don't make any friends? This house doesn't have a ramp. How am I supposed to get in? God, Eric, like, is it my fault you never learned how to ollie on that thing? I can't be solving all of your problems forever. It's so annoying. Sometimes I wish you would just roll off a cliff. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Don't do that. Because I need you to start taking all this crap out to the backyard. Like I asked in the first place. Okay, so let's take a second to talk about the actual alien design here, because once again, E.T. just can't keep up. I mean, yes, he's pretty expressive, but take a look at Mac. His default expression is one of constant astonishment, as if he himself can't believe that he's in this movie. Mac and his entire family are a bold step forward in alien aesthetics. These aliens stride onto the screen in all their nude, peach-toned, flabby glory, covered in spots and sporting expressionless O-shaped mouths. The design screams avant-garde. Critics cruelly described them as lumpy nightmares and testicle-headed elf-eared goblins, which is just another way of saying unique and unforgettable. Plus, Mac and Me offers 4 aliens for the price of 1, a whole family of grotesquely endearing extraterrestrials, whereas E.T. gives us a lone waddling raisin. The Mac family's blank stares and wobbly limbs have a certain je ne sais quoi that elevates them to high art. Even their abilities outshine E.T. Sure, E.T. had a glowing healing finger, but Mac and his family have a far cooler power. They can communicate across miles by whistling, and also the ability to cause chaotic vacuum cleaner accidents. Clearly, the designers wanted to one-up E.T.'s simplistic look with something that would sear itself into your mind forever. And to that I say, mission accomplished. Now, both of these movies feature chase scenes, but one is clearly more action-packed than the other. Compared to Mac and Me, the E.T. chase scene looks like a casual bike ride through the suburbs. Mac and Me's chase scene features running, laundry, and car crashes as Eric and Mac go blazing through the middle of traffic. And sure, the finale of E.T. is an emotional tearjerker that pulls at your heartstrings. But why settle for mere heartstrings when you can yank out the whole heart? Or put a bullet through it. Yes, the climax of Mac and Me features not only a massive explosion, a helicopter, and aliens walking through fire, but this movie turns the drama dial up to 11 when Eric, the main character, gets shot and killed by the police. And I mean, yeah, the aliens bring him back to life with their Coca-Cola powered magic, but still, this movie wasn't afraid to go there. This is a film that says, yeah, we killed a kid on screen and still end with a happy ending. Beat that, Steve. Consider the emotional roller coaster Mac and Me offers. A family of aliens gets sucked into a vacuum and separated. A lonely boy befriends a weird little creature. There are chase scenes, explosions, and a full-blown music number. One minute, you're laughing at the absurdity. The next, you're moved by the sight of the entire alien family becoming naturalized US citizens in the finale. Yes, that actually happens. The aliens literally join American society at the end in what can only be described as the boldest pro-immigration message in all of 80s cinema. Meanwhile, E.T. just phoned home and ditched Earth without filing proper paperwork or even saying thank you. Now that's just rude. E.T. ends with a bittersweet farewell, which is nice, but it's kind of a downer. Mac and Me says forget that and gives us a family reunion with the promise of more. The final shot features a bubble coming out of the alien family's pink Cadillac with the words, "We'll be back." Now that's confidence. They basically announced a sequel before the audience even had time to process the masterpiece they just saw. And no, the sequel never happened, but I think it's pretty clear that the sequel never got made because Mac and Me was just simply too ahead of its time. the world just wasn't ready for more. So in summary, E.T. may have the prestige, but Mac and Me is a movie that survived infamy and came out the other side as a cult movie icon. And honestly, infamy is way cooler than universal acclaim. I mean, sure, E.T. won a bunch of awards, Oscars and who knows, but Mac and Me won the only award that really matters. Worst New Star for a Dancing Clown. Mac and Me is clearly and unequivocally a superior work of art to E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. It has a more bombastic story with higher highs and lower lows. Literally, that wheelchair plunge is hard to top. Alien designs that belong in a modern art museum, product placement bravado that would make Don Draper weep with joy, a dance scene that outdances anything in the Spielberg playbook, and a cultural afterlife that continues to bring joy to thousands, maybe millions. Maybe billions. I don't know how many people watch this movie. It's unknown. Sure, E.T. might be more critically acclaimed, more polished, more competently made, whatever that means. It may have made $1 gazillion and made everyone believe in magic for a moment, and it may be one of the greatest movies of all time, but Mac and Me is often cited on lists of the worst movies ever made. And, let's be real here. Being the best at being bad is still being the best at something. People hold bad movie nights just to experience its weirdness with friends. Can E.T. say the same? Sure, E.T. has a ride at Universal Studios and an awful Atari video game that nearly crashed the video game industry, but does it spark joy in the form of so bad it's good viewings? Not really. You watch E.T. to feel warm and fuzzy. You watch Mac and Me to have your mind blown by the fact it was greenlit at all. And in that sense, Mac and Me captures the feeling of wonder so much more than E.T. ever did. I want to thank all of my supporters on Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, and my YouTube channel members. I want to thank all of you for tuning in, but that's pretty much it for this one, and I'll see you all next time. Calm down? How am I supposed to calm down? I'm a single parent working at Sears. It's a miracle I could even afford this house. And yeah, I know it's 1988 and, things aren't the same as they're going to be like 35 years from now, but still.
Thank you.